Welcome back to another episode of the FPL Sheeple podcast, a podcast that aggregates elite FPL content and delivers it straight to your ears. We are back after a long break, and we start off by apologizing for not putting out an episode last game week due to some personal commitments for both our co hosts. It was also a very short turnaround, so we found it hard to find a suitable time to have our content ready. Nevertheless, we did make changes last week and we did have the star of the week, Jarrod Bowen, as our captain, and that led to some substantial green arrows for both of us. I'm joined by my co host, Donatello. How's it going, Donatello? The chaos of the postponements and injuries becoming a bit too much for you?
Hey, first of all, happy New Year's to all our listeners. And yeah, we couldn't put out an episode because we just didn't find the time. As far as FPL goes, I've been having a couple of really great weeks without thinking much about about making changes or I haven't even been on Twitter.
Hmm.
So I I realized yesterday that it was the final match of the game week when I saw Bowen score, and that's when you know I realized that, oh, this is the last match of the game week. So I have actually enjoyed this break, and there's one more coming in like in a week or two. But sometimes it feels great to take that some break in between and yeah, come back with a bang like we have done this game week. Although we
Yeah,
didn't post a video, we like all of us, thanks to Mr. Jarrod Bowen, we are back on track.
yeah.
So it feels great to record this one um, on the eve of the second double game week. And as far as the postponements goes, it's I mean, I'm used to it now. What about you? Like, I think it's going to happen. Like every now and then, teams are going to have COVID cases or something
Right.
like that, and then it's going to be there. So
Yeah, I think for us, we weren't affected by the Everton match cancellation because I don't think we either of us had any Everton players. I think we made changes in the last game week, but we were, mainly dealing with getting in Bowen
yeah,
for the game week. So yeah, I think that didn't affect my team at least. And I mean, yeah, December was a bit intense, especially the last part with those quick game weeks, and especially
yeah,
because given our format where we have to know who the next content creator of the week is, and that happens after a game week is over, and then there's
yeah,
hardly a few hours before the next deadline. So, yeah, that was that was pretty intense to keep on top of things. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, FPL wise, it's fine. I think, as you say, switching off from FPL for a few days and just being alert a day or two before the deadline is sort of enough because we have our sources pretty much available to us and we can just quickly go through them. We can see what they're suggesting and what sort of is the general chatter around the players to get in and players to sell, so that just a couple of days worth of browsing and understanding or listening to a couple of podcasts just helps
yeah,
set the team in order. So yeah, so at least that is a good part, so I don't have to think about it for the other days. So yeah, so we are back again. Tomorrow is a deadline, and so here we are looking at all that content like we usually do. All right, so then let's just dive into this week's episode, starting with the review of Game Week 21. So, in the last episode, I mean, the one before uh, last one that we did, we talked about a change in the roster of the 20 content creators that we follow every
yeah,
week. And we made 8 changes in this roster, and we have all the top sort of new set of FPL pundits who are in the top 100K because that's our goal for the season. So we decided to just have the roster full of people in the top 100K. And we had made a note that potentially that is going to make a huge shift in the template team that we show every week. So this template team is essentially made up of the top 11 players that are featured in the 20 content creator teams or starting 11s. So yeah, we had anticipated sort of a shift in the template team, and we do see a major shift. There are quite a few players that are now completely different and new in this template team compared to the last. Uh, I think it's a mixture of both. The creators trying to maximize the amount of double game week players in their teams, but also because there is a new set of content creators who we are following, and therefore the pool of players is a bit different. So for example, David De Gea is in the new template keeper. He's in 12 out of the 20 teams. Dawson, the West Ham defender, is also part of the template. He's actually just in 7 teams, but he was the third most commonly picked defender.
Mm.
And yeah, as you can see, Demarai, Gray, and Calvert Lewin were also the Everton assets that content creators went for, anticipating their good run of fixtures. But again, the and also they had a double game week, but one of the matches got cancelled. So yeah, these were the main changes, and of course, Jarrod Bowen was a major addition. He was in all 20 teams. He was also the most captained. I think he was the captain for 16 out of the 20 teams. The other four went for Antonio, and I mean, I guess, I guess it makes sense. But I think Bowen was in too hot of a form, and so most content creators went for him, and it turned out really well. So yeah, so that's the template team for Game Week 21. Anything you would like to add here?
Yeah, looking at the template team, as you said, we have content creators who are under the rank of 100,000. So you can see, automatically see that, this bunch of content creators, or the new bunch of content creators we've added, uh, I mean, I get the feel that they are more of a, risk-taking bunch, because the
Yeah,
fact that I see Gray, Calvert-Lewin, and Dawson on there, automatically changes the overall look and feel of the template team, which we are
yeah.
used to looking at for the last 20 odd game weeks. So
Hmm.
yeah, unfortunately for some of the content creators, the Everton match didn't go through, but it would have been interesting to see what, if it had happened, like if the match did take place, what would have been the results of that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to many more such template teams where there are interesting players on the in front of us. So
Yeah, I think someone had done an analysis recently of the really top teams, like the ones that are in the top 10. I
mm,
think I read a thread on Twitter where someone had analyzed the world number one so far, and what they realized was these FPL players normally have assets which then eventually become templates. So essentially, they are
mm,
on the onto the good players even before they become a thing. So
right.
that's why it'll be really nice, yeah, as you said, that perhaps we find one or two players here in this template team that are slightly ahead of the general
Yeah.
template understanding of all the other FPL players. So yeah, it should be really
Mm,
interesting. So we'll see how it goes. And evidently, we also our own FPL teams have only a few of these template players. I think at some point we had quite a lot, but now again we are behind this template team of the new content creators, and yeah,
yeah.
we hope to catch up. I think in the next weeks or so. Right. So, coming to our own game week review for 21, starting with my team. And I went for a, -4 last week as well. Uh, and I had obviously brought in Jarrod Bowen and captained him. So he gave me half of my points. So I got
Mm,
84 in total, and 42 came from Bowen. Obviously, Watkins didn't feature, so a 0 pointer from him. Foden didn't feature, so he went down as well. He also got 0 points, and uh, turns out Alonso was one differential for me. He was only owned by like 8% players
Yeah.
in and around my rank. So yes, I mean all of this stuff we get off livefpl.net. So shout out to livefpl.net. That's why even this time around the points and the ranks and all the changes, the gains we had, all the stats we've put up from livefpl.net. So for example, I got a score of 84, and my safety score, which by the definition of live FPL is essentially the score I would require minimum to keep my rank, was
Yeah.
71. So essentially I got 13 points more than the safety score, and that's why my rank increased from 148k to 107k, so like a 27% jump. So really useful stuff. It gives you some perspective of how well you would have done. Like otherwise we just look at those raw numbers of the score and we think it's a good score or whatever, but it helps to know in the context of all the players around us whether we did better or not. And I am just 3 points off the 100k, so I'm really happy about that. That's nothing, that's just one assist here or there, and I should be in the top 100k. So yeah, things are looking good, and ready to have ready for the next double game week, which is game week 22, and we'll see what we can do to maximize our points in that game week. So
Mm.
yeah, so that's my team. Moving on to your team.
Yeah, I also had a great game week. So I got overall 89 points, but I took a hit. So last week I got in Bowen and Antonio, and as everyone did, I also captained Bowen. So um, half of my points are also because of him.
Yeah.
And then there was a lucky break that I got in form of Armando Broja, because he scored a goal and also got a couple of bonus points. So 8 points from him. So I think he was like a good differential to have,
Hmm.
or like contribute to my team. So overall, Bowen with half the points, and then Broja, Salah, and Alonso with like 8, 7, and 6 points. So, and Antonio, of course, 9 points over the two games. So, yeah, overall, after the hit, my points were 85, and similarly, my safety score was 72. And because I got good points this game week, I am now finally in the 100Ks. My rank went up from
Awesome.
114K to 80,000, which is amazing. Which is what we were trying to achieve this season, was get a rank under 100K. So yeah, first time under 100K, so it feels good. So hoping to keep up the momentum from here on.
Yeah, and you're just 16 points away from the 50k mark. I don't think that's a huge deficit. So yeah, it looks like
Yeah,
50k and 100k are pretty close together. So yeah, I
we
mean,
close,
now
but
we
it's
go for.
it's yeah, it's really unpredictable going
Yeah,
forward now, because
that's
it's
true.
just luck, I think. So
Yeah. So I think I'm just going to go back to my team quickly. Oh yeah, I realized that I didn't take a hit. I only had to
yeah,
make
you
the
didn't
one
take a
change.
hit.
Yeah.
You had a
Yeah.
hit the week before, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, exactly.
Um,
Yeah, so in Game Week 20, I didn't take a hit, and actually, that already gave me an advantage right at the beginning of the game week, because there
mm,
were quite a few teams that took a hit, and so despite me not taking a hit, I still had all the good set of players, and it was fine. But nonetheless, I think this week all of that will be taken care of. Not taking a hit and taking too many hits. We'll see. Uh, all right, so then we go to our content creator teams, and the winner for Game Week 21 was FPL Mate, or Dan. Uh, so he got 94 points. I mean, he just had an amazing pool of players. It's just quite unbelievable. He has Hugo Loris in net, huge differential. Wouldn't expect you to have Hugo Lloris as a keeper, but he does have him, and Spurs are, looking increasingly good in defense.
yeah,
He has Raheem Sterling in midfield. That's a huge differential. I mean, we know Sterling can be hugely frustrating, but he can also be hugely rewarding. So it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see what Dan does with Sterling for the next few weeks. Of course, he had Armando Broja like you, and so those 8 points are also a nice differential. And Dawson was in his
Mm,
team, so that's 7 points of a differential. So all of these, like 4 or 5 differentials, really set Dan apart, and so he got 94 points. That's a huge score. I think he's also world rank 28 right now, so that's really
yeah.
amazing. So yeah, we'll see. We'll learn more about Dan um, uh, in a short while. But yeah, so apart from Dan, we also normally take a look at 19 other content creators, and we take a look at their starting 11s, like I said at the beginning of the pod, and we compare these starting 11s to see which are the most commonly picked players and which are the most differential players across all of the content creators, and also try to see which of the players helped set the top content creators apart from the others. So yeah, so we make an Excel sheet every week. It's linked in the description of the audio and the video versions of the podcast, so you feel free to browse around this Excel spreadsheet. It also helps you to give you a pool of players that are in the thinking of all these elite managers, and also gives you, I would say, sort of tunnel vision regarding what are the good assets to have in FPL in general,
Mm,
um, and not to miss out on the top players. For example, have Bowen as the captain, have Jota, have Trent, have Antonio. These are all the players that all the content creators have, and so it helps to have that core team fixed. So yeah, so we take a look at the spreadsheet every game week, and we make a note of few of our key takeaways for that game week, and we discuss that now. So yeah, starting with your takeaways.
yeah, my first takeaway was very obvious. As you pointed out, I think we had 17 or 16 captains
Yeah.
or 16 managers who made Bowen their captain. And he delivered like 42 points and are like in a double game week. That is brilliant. I mean, and I watched the highlights for last night's game, and I was sure like he could have scored at least two more goals,
Yeah.
and that would have been an even bigger game week for everyone. But yeah, it is very satisfying that you choose a player for a double game week captaincy and he actually delivers. So that's like a feeling of happiness that I personally get, and I'm sure you get as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, so we had, after I think Salah's 48 points, this is like the biggest captaincy haul um, we've had in a while.
Yeah.
So it feels
For
good
sure.
to be on that side of getting the captaincy right. So yeah, that was like the first obvious um, takeaway. The second one was, we discussed this earlier on with respect to the template team, but yeah, I mean, yeah, it is an odd template team to have because I would never expect players like Demarai Gray or DCL and Craig Dawson to be there,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not even the fact that the managers have used free hits or something like that, in which scenario you would be fine. But they have these players in their team, so they are probably going to take them out this week. I don't know because this is a point that you will touch upon in your
Yeah.
takeaway, that the average hits that they have taken in this
Yeah.
game week, will they be in a scenario where they would take more hits for this upcoming double game week? We don't know. So yeah, but yeah, just an observation that some of the players, you didn't expect them to be in a template team, so felt odd to me. But if that's the norm, then eventually we'll get there as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was another takeaway. And then finally, I'd like to just identify some differential players which stand out or stood out in this particular game week. First, the name that I saw was Armando Broja, 8 points. I think five or six managers had him in their team. Second would be any manager who had a West Ham defender in their team, they really benefited from them, especially if they had Sufal, because he provided an assist and got bonus points, so he got like 12 points.
Hmm.
So West Ham defenders were like, uh, they went, apart from Dawson, there were other players like Diop and I forgot the other name. They were also in some managers' teams, so definitely contributed to their overall points. And finally, Hugo Lloris, a goalkeeper in this mix, is good to see. Um, uh, Even though Spurs won, I think 1-0 at the very end, he made some really great saves, and to get 2 bonus points. So he got like 8 points. So some really odd names in this list as well, of differentials. But yeah, it's good to see. And you know at least you come to a point where you think of these players for the upcoming game weeks if they are in
Hmm.
form. So those are my takeaways for this game week.
Yeah, yeah, that's really interesting. Um, yeah, I mean, for me, I normally look at the range of points for that particular game week and try to see what was the difference maker or which players were the difference makers. So this week the range was between 64 and 94 points. So that's a huge amount of difference. And
Mm,
it wasn't like anyone didn't have Bowen or whatever, because all teams had him. So it wasn't like Bowen was the major difference maker. It was more about uh, you know these teams having, I think Broja was one, as you pointed out, and the West Ham defenders. It's like a mixture of 3 4 players together that made a difference of this 30 points between the top and the team at the bottom. uh, so yeah, so there wasn't a clear cut pattern like I used to see in the previous game weeks, where there was just 1 or 2 players that set the range apart. This time around it was a combination of a lot of players. And then I took what I saw was that there was on average at least a -4 taken across all the 20 content creators. So some took -8, some took -4, and others didn't take a hit. So but the average for all the 20 was a -4, so at least one hit per content creator. So yeah, again, with because it was a double game week, it is probably more safer to take a hit, because if you are just getting in a player that plays twice, you are essentially losing no points if they play both the matches. However, this week
mm,
that didn't happen, because Everton players just got that one game, and they really didn't perform that well in that game. So uh, so the content creators who went for Everton players by taking a hit, they weren't necessarily rewarded in a really um, in a really good way, but that's fine. Uh, and then I also noticed that there was only one manager who who played the free hit, trying to capitalize on the small double game week, but it was sort of it turned out to be a really bad free hit for them. So coincidentally, so Rich Davies, who used the free hit, just got 64 points, and he was at the bottom of the list. But that was because he went for an Everton triple up, and poor fellow was not able to get any points from their postponed second match. And even Calvert Lewin, who featured in our template team, ended up scoring 0 points because he missed a penalty and didn't really do, or wasn't as explosive as people expected him to be. And yeah, so Rich unfortunately missed out quite a bit because of his triple up on Everton, and also Brentford, who didn't end up getting too many points. So for him it wasn't sort of a forgetful free hit, but nevertheless he is in the top 10K despite having such a bad week. So I mean, it's fine. I think he should be okay for the next few weeks. And
Yeah, and he
yeah,
also has a second free hit card. So
yeah, for
there's
sure,
top
exactly.
10K plus another free hit card.
Yeah,
So
so yeah, yeah, it'll be really interesting. Uh, what he does and when he uses the second one. Yeah, and the last thing that I noticed is that despite all of this chaos of postponements and injuries, there are just 37 players in the entire pool across the 20 content creators. So uh, I would have expected a lot more because I think a couple of weeks ago we had like 45 players in the pool and sometimes up to
mm,
47 players. So that has now reduced to 37, which goes to show that you know there isn't a really good I mean, despite the chaos, there is still a core set of players that everyone is relying on. And even if you notice and hear a lot of these podcasts this week, people aren't really interested in a lot of midfielders and forwards. They're all confused because all the good players are injured or out, and nobody knows who the next best players are given the fixtures
yeah,
and form. So everyone is a bit confused, and yet I just see 37 players. So that was really interesting for me that there's still a tight pool of players despite all this chaos, despite all these postponements. Uh, and yeah, let's see how it evolves in the next few weeks. Do we see a wider set? Probably not, but yeah, so I just found that interesting for this game week.
yeah,
uh, all right, so then let's move on to our creator of the week. And yeah, as I introduced him, his name is Dan, or he's called FPL Mate on Twitter as well as on YouTube. His current rank, as I mentioned, is world rank 28. That's the highest he's ever been this season, and I'm sure across all his seasons, because because he's played for 8 seasons and his best rank has been 63k in 2019-20. So yeah, I would say he's a player that so far has been similar to our profiles in the past years,
mm,
but it looks like he's having an amazing season, and he has um, good amount of knowledge of the game, and looks like he's really playing well this year, and that's why his his videos are really useful as well, and that's why we have him in our roster, even though
mm,
he doesn't have the best history amongst all the different FPL content creators that we follow. But he's having an amazing season, and so it's just interesting to have him in our roster. Yeah, so he's still finished in the top 100k once and top 500k three times. So that's also that's also a good history that isn't terrible at all. But yeah, it's
yeah,
really nice to follow him this season when he's riding high and playing really well. So yeah, so
yeah,
that's FPL Mate, and we've sort of summarized all his transfer suggestions for this game week. Do you want to just
yeah.
go through them?
Yeah, sure. Basically, Dan has made like a matrix in which he suggested players which you can need to keep, buy, sell, and avoid. So the first, you know, buy suggestions are Kane and Madison, because both teams, Spurs and Leicester, have double game weeks, double games in this game week. So those are his buy suggestion. If you have Dennis and Watkins, keep for now, because I think Watford have a double game week, and I'm not. I think Villa have one too. I'm not really
No,
sure.
no, not now.
I
But
don't think, yeah.
we'll have,
But they have
yeah,
United, but they might have another one following game week. So
exactly, and they have a good run of fixtures as well
yeah.
later. Mhm.
And players to avoid, Dances, Saka, and Mount are the players to avoid for now. And then if you have any AFCON associated players, like any players who have gone to AFCON, it's time to sell them. So and then on top of that, Bernardo Silva as well. So those are his quick matrix to uh, buy or sell or keep or avoid players. And on top of that, the transfers for this week, if you have a Son or Salah, uh, you can sell them to get in either Madison, Fernandez, or Lucas. And then upfront, if you have Antonio or Broja, you can sell them both or either of them to get in Dennis, Ronaldo, and or Kane. So essentially, six suggestions, all forwards and midfielders, no defenders suggested, um, to get in your team. And in terms of captaincy, it looks like Dan is going towards the Ronaldo route with 40%. I think he had a poll in which
Yeah,
40% voted
exactly.
for Ronaldo, and then Dennis, Kane, King, and Madison. So looks like he will be going for the Ronaldo route, but not sure, it might change. So those are his suggestions based on the videos that we
Yeah.
found on his YouTube channel.
Yeah, just a quick note about this, that what Dan does is something that is similar to the FPL Sheeple approach. He has 100 FPL experts, as he calls them, that he uh, contacts every game week and tries to get their suggestions and makes an aggregate of these suggestions, and puts that out, and obviously uses that for his own uh, team as well. So yeah, that's like a such a sheeple approach. So I really
Okay.
like that, and we as sheeple are now going to use his aggregated suggestions from experts and use it for our own. So it's such a
In
sheepception or what?
Sheepleson.
Yeah, yeah, something like that, sheepception or something like that. And for the same 100 FPL experts, as you said, it was a poll, and these were the captaincy
Mm.
suggestions that they made. So yeah, so these are all the different suggestions, and based on that, we've made changes to our own teams. We'll start off with your changes first.
Yeah, guess what? I took another hit, and because I had no option, it was a -8 this time, on top
Perfect.
of the -4 last game week. But I think it was a need of the hour. So
Yeah.
the changes that I made were I took out Antonio, Son, and Salah, and I got in Ronaldo, Madison, and Lucas Moura, because all three of them have a double game week. And then I'm going for a 3-5-2 formation with David De Gea is my goalkeeper. So Alonso, Cancelo, Trent, and then Foden, Mora, Bowen, Madison, and Smith Rowe. And then up front, Ronaldo and Dennis. And my captain is Ronaldo, and vice captain is Madison. I have my doubts on Smith Rowe whether he's not going to play, but then I have Broja as my first sub. So if Broja scores and Smith Rowe doesn't feature, then it's a win-win. But I don't know. So that's my team
Yeah.
for now.
Yeah, I mean, technically, it's not a -8 because if Lucas Moura and Madison play 90 minutes in both the matches, that's
Mm.
4 points each, and that cancels out. So essentially, that should be a 0 point gain or loss or whatever.
Yeah.
But let's hope that they both play and both matches go ahead. So that's the caveat we have to add this season. In any normal season, it would have made complete sense, but this season, you never know. And yeah, and
Yeah.
as I think you were saying before the start of our episode, that you have way too many flags, and I can now see it actually, and it does look a bit scary. But I think a
Yeah.
lot of these flags are still not updated and removed. Like Dennis trained and he should be available. Uh, Foden will. I mean, all of these are like news that will only get very close to the deadline.
Yeah.
So, but it is what it is, and for the format of this pod, we're just going ahead with at least. I mean, Ronaldo should be fit, um, uh, and you've gotten in the other two players who are available in theory. So let's see how it goes. Yeah, looks good. You have. I'm just trying to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 double game week players. That's really amazing. With one of
I
the
think
captains.
7 if you count De Gea too.
Oh, yeah, yeah, that's right. That's right. But only six are in your starting 11, or am I missing something?
No, Alonso, Trent, Lucas, Madison,
Oh,
Ronaldo,
no,
Dennis, and De Gea.
Trent doesn't have a double. It's just
Oh,
six. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's okay.
oh, he does not, right?
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
must be. I'm looking at James then in my here. Oh, forget that.
Yeah,
So
yeah, no, no,
six, yeah.
no worries. No worries. Yeah, no, no, but six is more than enough. And Ronaldo, the double captain, so that means that's eight essentially. So that's
Hmm.
amazing. Uh, but yeah, so that's your team. And then coming to my team, and also have taken a -8. Surprise, surprise. But it just makes sense because and I'm gone mostly with Dan's suggestions.
Hmm.
So, for example, I have sold Son and brought in Madison. That was one of his suggestions.
Hmm.
Sold Antonio to bring in Kane, uh, which was not his suggestion, but yeah, Kane was a buy. So, and Watkins was a keep. So I kept Watkins and sold Antonio to get in Kane. And of course, he said
Yeah.
to keep Dennis, but obviously, I have King, so I keep King. And the third change that I made is to sell Bernardo, which was his suggestion. He didn't suggest a
Yeah.
direct replacement, so I went for a player who is a double game week player and is probably going to start. So Lucas Moura. So this is not a suggestion that came directly from Dan, but from other content creators who I also listened to this week. So I went with Dan's
Yeah,
suggestions of selling Bernardo, but
but
used
I think
yeah.
Dan has suggested selling Bernardo and you can get Lucas in. So Lucas was one of his suggestions. So
Ah, yeah,
eventually,
okay. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Okay, then yeah, then I followed Dan's suggestions pretty well. Yeah, and Kane is my captain, obviously, and Madison is my vice captain. So I didn't go with Ronaldo because I mean, again, for I think I didn't have enough cash. I would have had to
Mm,
compromise quite a bit, and it's also Kane was a buy suggestion, so instead of
yeah.
Ronaldo by Dan. So I'm gonna go for it. Let's see how it goes. He's my captain, so I think our teams are pretty much similar. It's just that I have Watkins instead of Foden starting and Kane instead
I
of
am
Ronaldo.
really scared about Foden and Smith Rowe. I'm sure Smith Rowe is injured and is not going to start the Spurs game.
Yeah,
And I am also not sure about Foden. So you automatically have an advantage over me with like Jota and Watkins because they are like sure shot starters. So,
yeah,
but you never know.
yeah. I think the screenshot you sent me and the screenshot I have of my team. So Trent doesn't have a yellow flag in my screenshot.
That
I
is
it
true.
must yeah, and it must have been like just minutes apart. So I think the flag just
Yeah, and
cleared
now I'm looking at my screen and I don't see Trent has a yellow flag anymore.
exactly. So I think we just coincidentally were making these slides when the flag was removed. So that's good. So yeah, one less flag for you to worry about. Um, but anyway, yeah. So those are our teams, and yeah, -8 for both of us, but we've gotten in the double game week players, so should be good. Even for me, I have six double game week starters. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about the game week. Provided all the games go ahead, we should we should have a good score in theory.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, so that's it from us for this week. Um, um, Good luck to everyone for this double game week. There are lots of matches, lots of players. Hopefully, all of us reach close to triple digit, if not cross it. So yeah, so I wish everyone very best of luck, and we'll see you in before game week 23. So it's goodbye and good luck from me.
Good luck.